Hello, everyone. Good evening, Eckstein parent and guardians. My name is Kristen Rose, and I'm the proud principal of Eckstein Middle School. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We made this a Teams live event so that we could host hundreds of people, but so far I'm seeing there's about 16, 17, now it's at 17 of us in this meeting. So we are going to be recording it as well so that the rest of our community could view it at another time. I also just wanted to show my appreciation for all of you joining us. There's so much information out there, so many questions, and we're going to do our very best tonight to give you an overview to everything that we have planned here as we make this next transition in our school year and make time at the end by grade level to answer specific questions. So first, just want to point out the picture that you see at the top. This is the back part of Eckstein Middle School. I walked out after a long day, I think it was during the month of February, walked to my car and I saw this big shining rainbow that looked like it was just covering our school. I know the whole world in Seattle and Northeast Seattle saw it, but it just gave me hope for the journey ahead that we're all on. And here we are today, thinking about our launch into a new setting. Our school slogan, motto for the year has been "Together We've Got This," and we do. And we're looking forward to sharing our best thinking and our planning with you as we move into the weeks ahead. So we've got 24 with us now, and I'm certain more will be joining us here throughout our session tonight. So Ms. Sterling is behind the scenes here. She's our teacher librarian, and she's going to flip slides for all of us tonight. Next slide. So again, welcome. I wanted to acknowledge for families that would like some real-time translation using captions in Teams. If this is something that would be helpful to you, Ms. Sterling is going to put in the chat a link to an explanation in Microsoft Teams as to how you can access captions in the language that you use. So that is coming to you through the chat. We want to make sure everybody has language access tonight. Next slide. A few other acknowledgements that I just want to make. We appreciate your patience and your grace as we launch into this next transition. It has been a lot. We've had a great 3 days as an Eckstein staff, planning and orienting ourselves, working together, thinking about instruction, training on safety protocols. And we know that there's still lots of questions, and we hope that tonight, again, this presentation and the question and answer will get to everything that you are wondering. Also want to acknowledge how much we love and how much we miss our kids. And we are going to embrace and welcome all of those that are choosing in-person services for the remainder of the school year. And I also want to acknowledge that we're going to continue to engage and connect at a high level with those students whose families have chosen to keep them 100% in the remote setting. I also want to recognize the emotion overload for all of us, students, staff, parents, as we make this transition. We can have lots of nerves and wonders, and at the same time be really excited for the opportunities that lie in front of us in the weeks to come. And we acknowledge that this week as we work through our training as a staff, that different times of the day we were feeling different emotions. It's been a roller coaster, and that's okay to be holding space for different emotions. Our staff, I just want to acknowledge, has done an incredible job this year in the remote environment. And I know that as we make this transition into some students being in person in the afternoons and some being in remote, they're going to just keep trucking along and do an outstanding job as well. So kudos to all of them. I really am surrounded by the best educators, and I'm so thankful for it every day, and the gift that they give me by being on my team and the work that they do with your students each and every day. Finally, again, as I've stated a couple times, there are going to be things that we didn't cover that are your wonderings. We will do a question and an answer session at the end by grade level. We are also going to have a special breakout session, a specific breakout session for our Spanish-speaking families and our ELL families. And Ms. Ioannidis, who's our ELL teacher, is going to join me for that session. Next slide, Ms. Sterling. So as we work through the presentation tonight, when you see slides that say Seattle Public Schools with the Seattle Public Schools logo at the top, this is information that the district has helped craft for our school leaders. We are also going to have a ton of personalized Eckstein Middle School slides as well. And you will see 3 blue lines at the top of our Eckstein Middle School slides, and I'll point you in that direction when we get to them. So just a few words from the district here. Our purpose tonight, as we do these family orientations, is to let you know how excited we are to be moving into a different mode of hybrid instruction. We also want you to know that we're committed to a healthy and a safe learning environment for our kids, and we want you to know what to expect as your students return, if you are choosing to have them do so, to the classroom. Next slide. Outcomes are to learn about our middle school instructional model. We're actually going to end with that at the end of the presentation and our schedule. Ms. Anderson, our 6th grade assistant principal, is going to work through that part. You are going to get an overview of Seattle Public School health and safety protocols with Ms. DeNormandy, who works with our 8th grade students. And then Ms. Evans, our 7th grade administrator, is going to talk about our Eckstein specific protocols and routines. Next slide. Foundational planning from the district as the program, the instructional platform, was designed. Safety of our community is #1. Also want to acknowledge that our students furthest from educational justice and those that have been most vulnerable during this pandemic were at the focus point and prioritized in our reopening plans and decisions. As you all know, you had a choice between coming in cohort A or B, which is some in-person instruction in the afternoons, or staying remote, 100% remote. And again, there's lots of wisdom and expertise of our health experts that I'm going to speak to here on the next slide has helped guide this work and preparation for the return. Next slide. Just want to acknowledge that the district protocols, the health protocols and procedures are in alignment, and the district has received guidance from the CDC, King County Public Health, Department of Health, and Labor and Industry, and all of the protocols that have been developed around health screenings, contract tracing, coordinated communication is helping us to mitigate and hopefully contain this COVID-19 transmission as we bring students back. Next slide. The return to in-person timeline. We did welcome our first group of students back this week, this past Monday. Some of our special education students in our intensive service pathways returned this week. It was very exciting, and everything has gone as we anticipated and planned. Had to make a couple little shifts with things as we figured out our protocols, and we'll do that when we bring the rest of our students back on the 19th. But we were excited to have students back in the building with us in cohort model this week. All other students who opt in to in-person services will start that day after spring break, April 19th, a Monday. I should note, if they're in cohort B, if you get assigned into cohort B, it would be Thursday and Friday the week of the 19th. Cohort A will start on the 19th. And we're going to talk more about how the cohorting works and when you're going to hear what cohort you were assigned. Ms. Anderson's going to cover that at the end. Next slide. A little bit about transportation. When we think about our yellow school buses, the bus transportation by yellow school bus has been prioritized for special education students who are on an IEP. We do have ORCA cards for our other students who qualify. Many of our students received these when we did the distribution. If you remember back that Saturday, it was a rainy Saturday in September. We tried to give out as many ORCA cards as we could that day, but we know some of you still might want to pick one up for your student. So at the bottom of this slide, and we're going to post this PowerPoint If your student needs an ORCA card, we do want them to have one for sure, and you're going to email Ms. Ryan. She's our attendance secretary, and her email is there at the bottom, karyan@seattleschools.org. And I put in there who qualifies for ORCA cards. Your student needs to live between 1.5 and 2 miles from school. If your student's in the attendance area for Eckstein Middle School and is further out than 2 miles and usually takes a yellow school bus, they can also now get an ORCA card. If your student's address is outside the attendance area, oh, I duplicated that, sorry, 2 of the same bullet points there. The last bullet point is, what if my student does not meet those qualifications? Then if they are within the Eckstein Middle School walk zone, so that's right down our block or out by 1.5 miles, they might still be able to get an ORCA card, and this is through a program with the City of Seattle. It's the Youth ORCA Opportunity Program, and I've put again the email address if you'd like to apply if you don't meet those other thresholds for Seattle Public providing one of those ORCA cards. Email Ms. Ryan if you have any questions or concerns about transportation. She's our expert and will get you the answers. Next slide. I'm going to transition now to Ms. DeNormandy. She is our 8th grade assistant principal, and she's going to talk about a few more district protocols around things that we would like our parents to know as we make this transition. Ms. D, you're on.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. Next slide, please. We're going to be talking a little bit about what the district has provided us as the top 10 things that secondary SBS families and students need to know. The first thing is they've granted us some grace and allowed families to do their attestation, which can be done on your phone or on the computer at 10 o'clock in the morning. And once you fill out the paperwork or you fill out the form online, and I do it every morning on my own phone, you get a approved or not approved notice, and then we'll be able to track which students are able to be in the building. Next slide, please. Students are required to wear a mask when they're at school. And if they arrive at school and don't have a mask with them, then we'll make sure that we provide one for them. Next slide, please. All students need to make sure that they fill out the daily health screening attestation form. If the health screening form is not completed by the time the student arrives at school, we will have a station here at school where we can complete the attestation on site, or a parent or guardian will be contacted, and the student will remain in a waiting area until that form has been completed. This is a necessity in order to make sure that everyone remains safe. A cohort at the middle school level is set up as a group of students and adults. For the middle school, we will have, as you know, an A cohort and a B cohort for students who are attending in-person services. A cohort C will also be created for those students who are remaining 100% remote. The safe transition between the classrooms will be supported with clear signage and markings on the ground, in the buildings, and outside. In our 6th through 12th grade classrooms, and yes, that means here at Eckstein as well, students will be assigned to seats in their individual classrooms. Those seats will be 6 feet apart, and they will all be facing in the same direction. There's also going to be at least 8 to 10 feet in front of the first row of students' chairs between them and the teacher in the front of the classroom. The staff, both IAs, administration, and the teachers themselves will help reinforce this physical distancing protocols throughout the building, and that includes our hallways as well. Students will have to have their own learning materials for daily use, and those items will not be shared. Items coming back and forth from school to home will be limited. That's primarily because we want to make sure you know lockers won't be available for use. Students will carry everything they need, their backpack, their binder, and bags to each of the 3 classes that they will be attending on their cohort days in school. Students will also need to make sure that they have their computers with them, and don't forget those chargers. Actually, it's power cords that I meant to say. Students will also be able to access 40 meal sites across the district from 10:45 in the morning until 1:15 in the afternoon, Monday through Friday. Eckstein does happen to be an SPS meal site, and we will have grab-and-go meals available for our students learning in person. The orange box is specific to Eckstein. Students can pick up lunch before class and eat in the garden area before lining up to come in the building, and you'll understand about lining up at the end of this presentation. The cafeteria is where they will have a grab-and-go line. It will be inside the building near the garden area. The cafeteria, for those of you that are new to Eckstein, is in the back part of the building. We encourage students to pick up their lunch and their breakfast for the next day to eat at home. In order to keep everyone safe, we want to make sure that we maintain the protocol of hand washing, prioritized throughout the day, including but not limited to the time that they arrive at school and after using the restroom. Hand washing signage will be available throughout the building as a reminder to keep our students and our staff safe. We also know that it's going to be necessary to make sure that we keep the facility clean while students are in the building. Daily cleaning of common areas will be done in compliance with CDC and public health recommendations. Those high-touch areas like doorknobs and restrooms will be cleaned 3 times a day. In-person classroom will be cleaned nightly. You should also know that additional PPE will be provided in every classroom for daily use. If there is a suspected or confirmed case of COVID in the building, SBS will follow the CDC cleaning, contact tracing, and communication protocols. When students are heading home, they will be supported in maintaining their 6-foot distancing protocol. Students will load or be picked up from designated areas, and a map will be provided with the presentation that Ms. Evans will be giving you. Next slide, please. So, what's our case response? Should a COVID-19 case occur, staff will accompany or be suspected, I should say, staff will accompany the ill student to the designated protected healthcare room here in the building. The staff will then contact the parent or guardian. If the staff or the student test positive, central staff, meaning the district office, will identify close contacts and inform them of their possible exposure to COVID-19 in the building while maintaining confidentiality. Guidance will be provided on quarantining if necessary. Next slide, please. And finally, for my presentation, I want you to know that there are some additional resources available to you. If you need additional information, the district health and safety protocols are available on our website, along with the screening video that is available and in-person learning. Thank you so much. And I'm turning back over to, I believe, Miss Rose. I'm sorry, Miss Anderson.
We are actually going to queue up a video that Erin's working on bringing up to show the inside look of our building. So Ms. Sterling, working the back channels here on the live event, is going to queue up the video. Here we go. Hello, Eckstein families. Thank you so very much for your support and your patience as we make this next transition in our school year. Some families have chosen for their student to stay in the remote setting 100% of the time. Others have selected the hybrid model for their student, where they will be attending classes in person 2 times per week in the afternoons. I recognize that there is a lot of information being shared with you. I thought it would be most helpful to visualize the safety protocols in our actual school building. Thank you to Ms. Sterling, who is our teacher librarian, for helping me put this video together. I am leading an amazing group of Eckstein educators during this time of transition. They have worked very hard over the course of this week to get their classrooms set up for in-person learning. They've reviewed safety protocols, they've prepared family communication, and planned for this new afternoon educational setting. For those who are coming into the building for afternoons for in-person learning, welcome back on site. For those of you who are staying 100% remote, please know that we are also committed to providing your student with a robust and high-quality educational experience as well. We are excited to finish the year with our Eckstein students, whether it be joining us for the hybrid model or the 100% staying in the remote instruction. Thank you to our Eckstein families for being on the journey with us.
If you have questions, you can direct them to your grade level administrators. Jolene Anderson, the 6th grade house administrator, Deneen Evans, the 7th grade house administrator, and Barb DeNormandy, the 8th grade house administrator. The way our hybrid model works is that there are 3 cohorts. Cohort A will be in the classroom in the afternoon on Mondays and Tuesdays. Cohort B will be in the classroom Thursdays and Fridays. And Cohort C will remain entirely remote. Everyone, regardless of what option you've chosen, will be in online classes from 9 a.m. to 11:10 a.m. This will continue with what we've been doing earlier in the year, where periods 1 through 3 will be on Mondays and Thursdays, and periods 4 through 6 will be on Tuesdays and Fridays. For those of you who have chosen in-person learning, you will line up on the field by 11:40 a.m. And at 11:55 a.m., you will go with your teacher to your either 1st or 4th period class, depending on the day and depending on your cohort.
Oh, hello, Miss Sterling. Good morning, Eckstein Eagles.
And then, once again, depending on day and cohort, from 11:55 to 3:50 p.m., you'll have different activities that reinforce, supplement, extend, or enrich skills or content from the morning. For those who are remote, either because your cohort's not in that day or because you've opted to be entirely remote, you will still have activities that reinforce, supplement, extend, or enrich your skills, and you will find those on Schoology. For cohorts A and B who have opted for in-person learning, you are expected to complete a daily health screening on the days you are coming into school by 10 a.m. You can find the daily health screening form on the main page of the Seattle Schools website, seattleschools.org. Under this quick link section, just click the little plus button, and there's the link. And you click on it and you just fill it out. If the daily health screening and attestation is not complete by 10 a.m., there will be an attestation kiosk. However, it may delay in you getting to class, or you may have to return home if not approved. There are 2 car drop-off spots. The first is on 75th Street. The second is on 30th Ave. Transportation is prioritized for those who have it in their IEP. Everyone else can get an ORCA card if you haven't already had yours. You can ride your bike to school and lock it up in the bike cage. Just remember to wear a mask and stay 6 feet apart from each other. When in the building, hallways are single file and divided, stairwells are in one direction, and there will be some staggered passing periods. In the classroom, students will be assigned to seats that are 6 feet apart and face in the same direction. Teachers will be at the front of the class 10 feet away from students. Staff will help reinforce physical distancing protocols throughout the building, including hallways and common spaces. Daily cleaning of common areas will be done in compliance with CDC and public health recommendations. If there's a suspected or confirmed case, SPL will follow CDC cleaning, contact tracing, and communication protocols. Students are encouraged to bring their own water bottles as the water fountains are not allowed at this time. Bathrooms, stalls will be blocked off every other so that there will be spacing, and only a certain amount of students will be allowed in the bathroom, and it will be posted outside the door. Students will have their own learning materials for daily use, including their laptop and charger, and items will not be shared. Lockers will not be used this year. Eckstein is a meal site, so students can grab lunch in that passing period outside the building, but will not be allowed to eat inside unless under special circumstances.
Hi, I'm Ms. Sterling. Sadly, you can't come in here, but you can go to tiny.cc/Eckstein, log in with your SPS username and password, but remember, like the source, no at Seattle Schools, and you can still place a hold on a book. Just search for any book or do some browsing based on my topics or pick some books. Click hold and it'll be delivered to you.
If you're remote or want to continue doing curbside pickup, then you can come on Wednesdays between 4 and 5 p.m. from the cafeteria door if you drive from the back parking lot. Thank you, Eckstein. We got this.
Okay, we are, am I live, Erin? We're going to move to Deneen.
Okay. Okay. Ready to go? Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming this evening. I am Ms. Evans, your 7th grade administrator here, and I will be discussing the classroom adjustments that are being made for in-person learning and going over some physical distancing protocols. Students' desks and tables will be spaced 6 feet apart. Desks will face in the same direction. Teachers' workstations are located 8 to 10 feet from the first row of student desks. The classrooms will be staggered on the time of entry and release. Signage posters will be posted in the classroom, throughout the hallways, and the common areas. There are going to be designated points of entry and exit, which I will go over with the map. Physical distancing markers will be placed in the hallways to enforce the physical distancing. There will be directional signage posted throughout the school to mark foot traffic patterns. Upon student arrival and departure, if students arrive on 75th or 30th by car, bike, or walking, then they are to proceed to the back field and line up by teacher. On Mondays and Tuesdays, lineup will be by first period teacher. On Thursday and Friday, lineup will be by their fourth period teacher. Class is dismissed into the building by administrator in a staggered entry. Staff will escort students to assigned exits at the end of the day. Only students served by intensive service pathway may be dropped off behind the building. Entry logistics. Staff meet students on the field by 11:40. Staff complete check-in from students' attestation lists. Staff will proceed to assign entrance door to the classroom. Here is the map of the drop-off. As you can see, there is an indicated blue dotted line where is a student walk zone. Across the top of the map is 75th, where you see the green cars. That is the car drop-off. If you move around to on 30th Avenue, that will also be a car drop-off point. The only buses that will be in the back of the school will be the intensive program for students. We are asking that parents do not come into the back of the school to drop off, just because we will have the buses, and there will be also students walking in the walking zone. Each student will line up by grade level. Their teachers will be out in the field with signs indicating their name. It's divided by grade level. During this time, as I mentioned before, is where students will take the attestation, where students will check off that students have completed their attestation. If a student has not completed their assertion, they will be escorted to a different area and we will complete the assertion there if possible. Each teacher has an assigned entrance door. All entrance doors will be located in the back of the building, and they are numbered 1 through 5. Each door will have this posted on their door, and it will list the students, it will list the teachers that will enter through that door. Entrance, okay? This is, okay, it's okay. It's good, I can do the exit. So this is the exit map. Okay, exit doors will be in the front of the school and on the side. So students will exit the school in a staggered fashion, just as they did when they entered the school, and they will have an assigned doors to exit out of in the front of the building and on 30th. Here is a map of the exit doors. Once again, the students will have assigned doors that they will exit. Teachers will stagger their release with students and they will escort students to the exit. The flow of traffic is indicated with markers in the hallway, so students will know which direction to walk in while staying 6 feet apart. Physical distancing of classroom. Students are spaced 6 feet apart in the classroom. Each desk will be 6 feet apart. They will all be facing in the same direction. Restrooms and water fountains. Water fountains have been covered. Water fountains will not be in use. Students are expected to bring their own personal water bottle. Each stall in the bathrooms will be, every other one would be available. And we are strongly encourage students to wash their hands or to use hand sanitizers that are in the classroom throughout the day. Okay.
Okay, we are now moving to Ms. Anderson, 6th grade assistant principal.
See, I just wanted you to feel what we feel every day when we do these meetings, and there's always somebody that's muted. So thank you. Thank you. We work together as a team here at Eckstein. So I'd like to give you some more information about what this instructional model will look like. And I'm sure that you have a lot of burning questions about what will it look like and what kinds of experiences will kids have in person. Just know that our staff, like Principal Rose said, our staff has been working incredibly hard this week, not only to get their classrooms COVID proof, but also to try and think about how will we operate in this new learning environment. We have families that are sending their students to us for a number of different reasons, but we realize that that is a risk to put their students in with other students, and we definitely want to do right by that. On the other hand, we also have students and families who can't come in for a number of reasons, and we also have a moral obligation to them. So please know we have excellent educators here at Eckstein, and we're really trying to strike the just right balance of how can we enrich the content that happens equally, whether a student is able to come in person or experience that online. Go ahead, Ms. Sterling. So how this will look is all students receive remote live instruction in the morning with their content teachers from 9 a.m. to 11:10. That will be the meat of the new information that's provided. So then students who select the in-person hybrid model will receive 2 afternoon half days of instruction later on between 11:55 and 3:50. That in-person afternoon instruction is meant to enrich and extend the instruction, the new instruction in the morning. In addition to live, remote instruction 4 mornings a week, 100% remote students will also receive 4 afternoons of small group and individual supports from their content teachers. So whether a student is in person or remote, they will have access to their teachers every afternoon. In week 9, the last week of school, additional in-person instructional minutes will be provided to all in-person students who are interested. So, as you heard before, cohort A will be Monday and Tuesday afternoons, cohort B will be Thursday and Friday afternoons, and cohort C is fully remote. What we're waiting on right now from the district is to find who wants to come back in person, and then they will do the initial sort into cohort A and cohort B. Here's an example of what it could look like. So this is Monday, Tuesday, and then Thursday, Friday. Wednesdays will be staying the same. So you see here, all people, A, B, and C cohorts will attend live instructions for first, second, and third period on Monday, and fourth, fifth, and sixth period on Tuesday. Then that day, the cohort A people will be in person, where B and C will have remote access to their teachers. You'll notice that these periods at the top are mirrored by the periods in the afternoon, in-person and online sessions. Then the difference between Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday is just one is cohort A in person, the other one is cohort B. Cohort C stays home the whole time. Now, this is what our sequence for those developing cohorts has been. And I am sure that you are really anxious to know whether your student will be starting in person on Monday or will it be on Thursday. Right now, the survey only just closed yesterday, and the district, as I said, will be doing the initial sort for all cohorts for all middle and high schools. So we would love to be able to tell you that they would get that to you by Friday, or we could have a guaranteed time in which we could communicate that. We don't know that yet. So I know we are going into spring break, and that's a long time in between, but that communication will happen for you. The district, we just have to wait for the district to create those cohorts and communicate those. So as Ms. DeNormandy said earlier, the yellow highlighted portions, these are parts that are specific to Eckstein or that we have added. The white writing is just from the district. So this just reviews that online secondary model in the beginning. Again, all class periods receive that content together in the morning. And then activities that reinforce or supplement, extend, or enrich skills or content from the morning that students can participate in person or in the remote setting. Like before, those are not mandatory. They are encouraged, and students are encouraged to participate in those really great quality activities. So these are just a couple of samples of what it might look like. While we can't tell you exactly how your student will experience instruction, like how their teacher might organize it, we wanted to give you an idea of what this could look like. So one teacher has said, put on their Schoology page, okay, on Monday, we're going to have this live online lesson for 40 minutes, and then we're going to have lunch and transition. Notice it's like, this is the only time I will get to see and directly speak to all students. So make sure you show up and participate. Then after the lunch and transition, this teacher explains the first 10 to 15 minutes of class are reserved for completion of the online assignment posted in the morning, because we realize students coming into live instruction would not have enough time to complete any work from the morning. So they will be given some time in person to complete that. Then the remainder of the class will be used for enrichment. In this example, students might be burning metal salts in this science classroom in person. Well, for the asynchronous learners that are learning remotely, they would see a video of those burning salts with an explanation. So you'll notice there's no new instruction, but it's just additional to the morning new content. It just extends and better illustrates. Another example, this talks about how a student in-person compared to at-home students could use afternoon small group time. Because again, in-person students will get contact with the teacher, and so will the remote cohorts. So this just gives you an idea of what that could look like. This teacher has shown that it's like, we're going to check in for 15 minutes with my in-person people. They're going to work on the assignment while the other remote learners will have read the online instructions and they will come in to get help, and then they will flip-flop. So in this way, you can see that it is an equal learning time and the teacher is available to all learners. So now what we're going to talk about is the supplies. So teachers should be communicating this with you and with students. Remember that students can use their backpacks, and they will, which is different than what we've done in any other year. So one thing that your student might need help remembering is not to bring a lot of stuff, because if they're not used to carrying that on their back all day, they might not realize how heavy it can get. So again, we won't have lockers. So anything that a student will need during their in-person instruction, they need to bring with them. So that would be the charged laptop and power cord, textbooks as necessary, pencils and pens, again, the water bottle with water, folder for collecting any papers, notebook paper, and then some course-specific materials recommended by the class teacher. And you'll be getting those directly from those teachers. So then once we get them to Eckstein, normally we spend a lot of time with our sixth graders, orienting them to the building, taking tours, having them go through a lot of different experiences. This year, we've got a lot of kids who need to have that experience, and we won't be going through the same types of trainings. So what we're doing is, for all in-person learning for the week of April 19th, the first 5 to 10 minutes of that online in-person learning will be orienting all students to systems and expectations for Eckstein. So these include really specifics like expectations for moving through the hallway, how to arrive and depart from school, including the field lineup and the bike cage use, independent movement in hallways. So what are our expectations when a student needs to go to the restroom, to the nurse maybe, or to see a counselor? Our expectations for masks and social distancing, scheduling and where their classes are. So at the first period on Monday and on Thursday, in-person students will receive a schedule with a map on the back of it. And in every first period, we will be reminding students to find they will be in their first period class, but go through and find each of their other classes, as well as pathways to get between them, because it's been a long time since our kids have been in person. And then we will also be reminding them about how to take care of their belongings, specifically with their backpack, because they're not used to handling that, as well as being really careful with it because it has a computer and maybe even a cell phone in it. So you might ask, how do I prepare my students for in-person learning? So really, we're going to be asking them to wear a mask all the time. Make sure to reinforce that. Also, hand washing or hand sanitizer, and I'm sure that's something that you're already doing at home. What we will be doing is helping students visualize what 6 feet is with the use of an imaginary pool noodle. Most all students know about pool noodles, and they're just about 6 feet. So if they can imagine one, it gives them a visual idea of how far 6 feet is. 6 feet markers are also marked throughout the whole school. Please, it will make your lives much easier and your students' lives much easier if you have completed the attestation work before they show up. And please remind students that our schools can all stay healthy and safe if we follow the public health recommendations. We've also been talking as a staff with the counseling center. We also are predicting students will be really excited to see one another. We know that there'll need to be some learning and some reminders, so we're prepared to do that.
Okay, that's me. Thank you, Ms. Sterling. So I've received many emails, and I'm so appreciative for them, from parents saying, how can we help? What can we do? How can we show gratitude to our teachers during this difficult year and in this time of transition as we move forward? I can't tell you enough how much the emails of thanks mean to our entire staff and to teachers. They send them on to us. I'm often CC'd on them, and it means so much. So if you're wondering ways that you could help, emailing teachers is always appreciated. PTSA did some staff appreciation for us Monday morning as staff walked back into the building. We had Starbucks tumblers. I think there was about 8 of them. Drank almost all of them throughout the day. We needed lots of caffeine to propel us. Tucked a few away for cold brew to have on Tuesday, and they all went away, and we drank them all. So thank you, PTSA, for the coffee. There was biscotti, there were clementine oranges, and it was just really appreciated. So wanted to say thank you to PTSA for organizing. And also just knowing that we have tried to think of every system and protocol and procedure in how we're going to operate in bringing kids back. We know that things are not going to go exactly as planned. They never do. So we're going to have to make some adjustments, and we're going to be flexible. Our staff has been super flexible this week, and that's how they're going to greet your students, with warmth and care and flexibility as we bring them back. So we would just ask that of all of you too, as we figure out and fine tune our systems, and we'll get there, and would just appreciate that as we come together as a bigger school community on the 19th. One other thing I was going to say there, why don't we flip to the next slide, Ms. Sterling? I did want to just notate, I sent out a fairly lengthy frequently asked question on Monday night. It was a long email, I know, but I took all of the parent emails that I had received at the end of last week and over the weekend. I put them into a document, and we responded to each and every one. So please review that FAQ too if you've got other questions that were not covered in this formal presentation. But we're going to give an opportunity right now for smaller group breakouts where you can get your personalized questions answered. We want to make sure that you are as comfortable and confident as you possibly can be as we welcome students back into the building. So I want to thank my team for supporting the content delivery today. They're the best and have walked alongside me for the past year and this past few weeks as we're making a quick transition. We've been up at midnight, 1 a.m., emailing documents, PowerPoints back and forth, and they're going to greet you here in a minute in these breakout rooms. I am going to be in a Spanish-speaking breakout room with our ELL teacher, Miss Ianides, and answering questions for our ELL students, families, as well as Spanish speakers. And Ms. Sterling is going to put those links, maybe she already has, let me check. She is going to put in the chat the links to the grade level breakout rooms. So if you've got a 6th grader, you're going to go with Ms. Anderson into her 6th grade breakout room. We know that there's going to be lots of questions about 6th grade transition. How is my 6th grader who's never stepped foot in your building going to make it to classes? We know that there's lots of questions out there like that. Ms. Anderson's going to tackle them and let you know what our 6th grade team has planned. 7th grade with Ms. Evans and 8th grade with Ms. DeNormandy. And Erin, if you want to tell me when you're set to go in the chat. I've not seen them yet, but I think it's because I'm in a back channel and I can't see the moderated discussion for those. So this is the end of our formalized presentation. I thank you for being here, spending time with us tonight. And I would say if you feel solid that you got enough, no need to join the breakout rooms, but if you would like to ask some questions and be a part of the conversation, you're absolutely welcome to choose your grade level session. So with that, we're going to close out of our live session. Let's join some breakout rooms, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm so thankful for just an incredible and supportive Eckstein community. Thank you.
You're just getting a moment. We're going to end in just a moment. This is Ms. Sterling from the back end, but I'm just waiting for people to be able to click on the links.